Everywhere at the End of Time is an artistic piece created by the Caretaker that uses music as a way of showing the colossal concept of dementia. The full album of Everywhere at the End of Time is just over 6.5 hours long, containing 6 stages, following the effects of dementia on someone's brain. Dementia is a bit of an umbrella term, but in a general sense, it deals with a breakdown in a person's brain that slowly results in losing the ability to remember. But let's backtrack for a moment. Who is the Caretaker? The Caretaker is an alias created by the English creator James Leland Kirby. Kirby is a professional synthetic musician who's experimented with synthetic music for quite some time, his latest pieces echoing the loneliness in a person's soul. The Caretaker, then, is a persona that Kirby has used to upload the Everywhere at the End of Time album onto the popular website YouTube. Kirby has stated that the tracks in the album are all made up from free samples manipulated into full-length tracks. Kirby has also stated that these various films such as The Shining and the series Pennies from Heaven were major inspirations in the making of the album. The completely compiled album has been combined into one video uploaded by a VVM test, whom I suspect is another alias made by Kirby. As I stated previously, the album has 6 stages, with a number of tracks making up each stage, the largest being 14 and the shortest being 4. Starting at stage 1, which is actually stage 2 in relation to dementia since no symptoms occur at stage 1, the album opens and presents its most lovely pieces. Pleasantly swelling orchestral and ballroom music of an older 40s to 50s variety. This stage is the most clear, with only minimal effects for the listener. Crackling and very minor distortions are common, the effects mirroring the idea that all the music is coming from an older radio playing in an adjacent room, perhaps from a living room while you were off in the kitchen. The effects even dissipate at points, pushing the parallel that perhaps there is nothing wrong, being that this stage is easy to deny to those looking from the outside. This stage runs for a total of 41 minutes and includes various tracks such as It's Just a Burning Memory, Childishly Fresh Eyes, and My Heart Will Stop with Joy. Stage 2 is where we begin to notice changes in the music and memory. While still discernible and pleasant, the music begins to have more effects or distortions clouding our perception. A good metaphor is to imagine that same radio from stage 1, but now it is in a large indoor space away from you and beginning to hear signs of its age through wear and tear. The sound can feel more distant compared to stage 1, with some noticeable distortions causing some degree of difficulty in listening over. There were also several newer tracks with a degree of menace to them, with deeper undertones and harsher sound. The music often has a very subtle undertone melody playing beneath the main composition, giving rise to the confusion in discerning certain memories from one another. Even without the changes, it is still apparent that there are some difficulties discerning the sound, leading to the self-realization that something is wrong, but often a personal denial and acceptance. This stage runs just over an hour and 20 minutes in total before moving on. Stage 3 is where the last fully coherent memories are remembered before giving way to confusion and the post-awareness stage. In stage 3, the audio goes more distant, distorted and spaced out, often a remembrance of the songs from stage 1, but more difficult to discern or harder to remember. Stage 3 was also where noticeable shifts in the presentation of the audio were present, such as some notes stopping early or carrying on too late, as well as some songs simply stopping abruptly. The audio feels distant and dreamlike, leading to a surreal feeling of melancholy, mirroring the tangled confusion growing between moments and leading to isolation. This stage is similar to before, but slightly longer, running just under an hour and 30 minutes. Stage 4 is bleakly unrecognizable from the previous stages. Where in Stage 3, memories were somewhat damaged or disappointing, Stage 4 is a fluid, tangled mess. A majority of the audio in this stage is jumbled together, notes or music starting and beginning randomly, while hearing an assortment of random noises constantly. It feels as though sifting through a mess of cut papers in an attempt to create a somewhat cohesive story, but the papers contain full sentences or close to full. Within this stage is also the post-awareness bliss state, where the audio is somewhat more clear in the idea of gaps between jagged but somewhat beautiful motifs. It is here, before returning back to the post-awareness confusions, that we hear a momentary bliss of music returning in the disconnected, fluid, and jagged form somewhat resembling music. In this stage, it is far more apparent the growing gaps in time. The section lasts just over 2 hours long. Stage 5 is perhaps the most harsh of all. A cacophony of disconnected, violent, and jagged noises, barely even resembling the idea of a musical beat. This stage contains some of the harshest audio to listen to within the album, where it often created an atmosphere of intense paranoia, violent, harsh music, and confusion. Between the jagged noises is a dark droning undertone that gradually becomes more apparent within the album, a growing gap between any noises. At this stage, it is quoted stating, "More extreme entanglements, repetition, and rapture can give way to calmer moments. The unfamiliar may sound and feel familiar. Time is often spent only in the moment leading to isolation." Stage 5 echoes the greater length in time, with the entire section running a little over an agonizing 2 hours long. Stage 6 is a damning sentence. Where Stage 5 was a harsh, chaotic, and fluid noise representing the horrific breakdown in memory isolation, Stage 6 is emptiness. Nothing remains of the music that once filled our ears. Instead, it is replaced with long, empty droning and some singular notes that stretch on. After 5 hours of breakdown, deterioration, and horror, it is here where we finally arrived at the inescapable conclusion, a damning silence. Most notably, some of the only noises mimic the sound of moving wind or the sound of rocks falling in an empty cave far from here. Of note, Stage 6 has no description, its text mimicking the conclusion that there is nothing left and our place in the world fades away. At its end, it takes just shy of 2.5 hours before we fade away completely. Everywhere at the End of Time is a beautifully horrific work of art, one that gives us experience into one of the most terrifying forms of human passing. At the end of the album, you are left with a blissful ambience created out of a melancholy in destruction. It is works such as this that give us humility and experience into the many tragedies that befall the human experience. And after all that, silence fills the empty grave. Thank you for listening.